Hello, welcome to my first booktube video. Woo! I got a bunch of books for Christmas, so I'm gonna do a kind of Christmas book haul, but also it's kind of framed as books I want to read in 2025 because I want to get better at reading my physical TBR. And so yeah, hopefully at the end of next year on my wrapped video, all of these books will be in that. So yeah. I asked for a bunch of books for Christmas because usually I get like some of the books that I ask, and it's kind of fun to see which ones people choose to get me. It's kind of a surprise, but I actually ended up getting 11 books for Christmas. There was one book I ended up getting twice, so I gave one of the copies to a friend, but yeah, we'll go through the ones that I got and kind of why I'm excited to read them. First is The Rise of the Ranger by Philip C. Quaintrell. This is book 1 in the Echo saga. Honestly, I feel like I see nothing about it on like Book Talk or Bookstagram. I think I found it, I've seen it in one video and that's how I found out about it, but yeah, I'm kind of excited to read something that doesn't have a lot of reviews. Like on Goodreads, it has less than 10,000 reviews, which is pretty low, and it has like 4.2 stars, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to go into it and not be influenced by any opinions that I see online and other places, because sometimes I feel like that happens to me and I get those in my head before I finish the book, and that influences how I see it. So also, this character looks like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, so if he's anything like that, then I feel like I'll love this book. And it doesn't seem like it has any romance in it at all, which I also am excited for, because I feel like I read a lot of books that have at least some sort of subplot of romance, if not romance being a main plot point. So yeah, branching out from that and getting more variety. Okay, book number 2 is The Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. This is book 3 in the Crowns of Nyaxia, but the first 2 books are focusing on a different couple, and this is the first book focusing on a new couple. So the main girl in this book was in the first 2 books as like a side character, and now she's one of the main point of views, so that'll be fun to see her like more in depth and her thoughts, and then also seeing the characters from the other book. I think they're going to be in this one, so seeing them from a different perspective. The first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series I really liked. That one was like The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And then the second book was okay. I feel like it was kind of a letdown compared to the first one. It was still entertaining. The first one, however, was one of the books where like their characters are in a competition and there's like different trials, and I feel like those types of books are always so entertaining because it's like an easy setup for you to see the characters in a bunch of different settings that wouldn't really make sense outside of a competition. So yeah, I feel like competition books are always just like The Hunger Games, The Goblet of Fire, Throne of Glass, all those, just like you get to see the character in such specific settings that only make sense in that competition. And just like with the set rules and everything and like the structure of it, I feel like those ones are always good. So I don't know, I've heard mixed reviews about this. We'll see if it stands up to the first one, or if I just like that one because it's a competition, but I don't actually like Carissa Broadbent's Crowns of Nyaxia series. We'll see. Okay, the third book is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Zeffy wants to escape. Please ignore my cats. Okay, the third book is The Spell Shop. Zeffy. The third book is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. It has sprayed edges, so I hate that. I don't understand why that needs to be a thing. But I'm excited about this book. It's like a cozy fantasy, which I started reading that this year. I read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, and then I actually just finished Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. So cozy fantasy, I kind of have mixed thoughts on it so far, so hopefully this will help me figure out my true opinion on the genre. Oh, my cats are hissing at each other. Okay. Legends and Lattes was kind of too cozy in a way. I feel like there wasn't like anything in it that was high stakes, so I kind of needed some more action, like more of a crisis to be solved. But Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, I liked a lot more. I feel like it had a good balance of like a cozy setting, but then there was still like plot points that seemed intense and like climactic more so than Legends and Lattes. And this one, it says there's unicorns, mermaids, and then the main character makes raspberry jam and opens a spell shop in this like cozy town. So all that sounds great. So next is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the first book in a romantasy series, the Kindred's Curse saga. On Goodreads, this has like 107,000 reviews, which is a lot, and it still is over 4 stars, so I'm trusting the people of Book Talk. Sometimes that's bad to do, but we'll see. Sometimes our opinions differ. I've heard good things about this, like my future sister-in-law said she read the 3 books that are out in this series, because it's a 4-book series. She read the 3 of them all in a week, so I feel like this will be a good one just to like, if I feel like I'm in a slump or if I want something that I'll read really fast, this one seems like it'll be good for that. It's supposed to be slow burn and enemies to lovers, so they better actually be enemies and actually be enemies for a logical reason, and then there better be yearning. Like, I don't want physical intimacy until like this far. Because there's going to be 3 more books in the series, I need the slow burn to actually be a slow burn. So I have high hopes for this. I only have 2 romantasy books, this one and then Songbird in the Heart of Stone. So that's pretty good for me. Sometimes it's easy to get into like romantasy after romantasy after romantasy because they're kind of addicting and like you can read them so fast, but then it kind of gets repetitive. So yeah, I want to try to branch out more from that genre in 2025, so 2 out of 11 I feel like is a good amount. Okay, book number 4 is The Black-Tongued Thief by Christopher Buehlman. This one, it's like grimdark fantasy, which I just got into in 2024. I read a bunch of Joe Abercrombie books, and I really liked them, and this cover kind of looks like Joe Abercrombie's covers, so that was part of the reason why I was intrigued by it. I just like how grimdark fantasy, like the characters are very morally gray, but you can't help but root for them. I feel like it's hard to do that, and so I'm always impressed by authors that are able to make characters where you feel like their decisions aren't necessarily ethically right, but you still want them to succeed in what they're doing. Also, this one follows a thief, as you can tell by the name, so I feel like books with thieves as the main characters are always just, it's a fun perspective to read, like Six of Crows is another example by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like, especially in fantasy, like reading from that perspective, it kind of adds like a mystery, thriller, like suspense aspect to it. And then also in this book, it says that it's about the thief, and then the thief has to work with an honor-bound knight, and so they have to work together towards a common goal. And so books like that where it's 2 characters that like would never in any other situation interact, but they are put in a situation where they have to work together. I just like seeing those interactions and seeing how they become close, so excited for that. Okay. Next one is Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Most people probably know about this. It's book 5 in the Stormlight Archive. It just came out like December 6th, I think. So I'm rereading the first books of the Stormlight Archive to catch up to where I am, so I can really give this one like my full attention and have all the knowledge fresh in my brain so I can appreciate it the most, because sometimes in series I'll forget what happened and then I feel like I don't enjoy the later books in the series as much as I would have. So the Stormlight Archive books are 10 books. It's split into like 2 different 5 sets of books. So this one is the last one in that first set of 5 books. So I'm excited but also really scared and kind of sad to see what happens to the characters, because in all of Brandon Sanderson's books, the last 200 pages are just always crazy and so much happens, and so the finale of the finale might break me, but I'll get back to you on that. Okay. Next is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I really like this cover, and it's a retelling of a Brothers Grimm story, The Goose Girl. In the past, I've kind of had mixed thoughts on retellings. I feel like sometimes I can be influenced by my thoughts on the story that is being retold. I also feel like sometimes when people try to do a dark retelling, or a retelling where the villain is actually not a villain, they just kind of flip the roles. It's oh, the villain is actually good and the good character actually was bad. There's not any creativity behind it. So hopefully this one, I don't really know a lot about the Goose Girl, so maybe that'll help because I won't be comparing them as much to each other. Also, T. Kingfisher, I've heard really good things about, but I've only read one book by them. It was the novella Thornhedge, which is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, where Sleeping Beauty is actually a villain, and then the fairy that's keeping her in the tower is actually protecting everyone. So that one I really didn't like. I wanted to like it, but it was really short, so I feel like there wasn't a lot of character development. So hopefully in this one, I don't know. We'll see. I'm iffy on retellings, I'm iffy on T. Kingfisher so far, so this one will help me make up my mind about that. Okay, next is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong. This book is the one that I actually got 2 copies of. I got it for Secret Santa, and then it was also on my list of books that I wanted. And my Secret Santa was Taylor, who I've had him 2 years in a row as my Secret Santa now. And he always has gotten me a book, and he looks at my Goodreads at my want to read list. And then whenever he's over at the apartment, he will come in here and look at all my bookshelves and see which ones are on my want to read but that I don't own. And so props to Taylor, because he's really good at figuring them out and finding books that I want, because this one I wanted for so long, but it's independently published, so it's hard to find. But I've heard so many good things about it. It seems like it's about a place where they're in a time of peace, but it's kind of built on a foundation of lies. So when that's all exposed, then war is kind of the only destination that we're heading towards. It also seems like it follows a certain family, so I feel like I don't read a lot of books where a family is the perspective and there's different characters in the family that you're following. Usually it's a couple that we're following, or kind of a ragtag group that has to work together. So yeah, this will be different from that, and it's a standalone, which sometimes series can be overwhelming, so a standalone epic fantasy sounds great. Okay, I have another book by M.L. Wong. So I've never read any books by M.L. Wong. Hopefully I like them, but I've only heard good things. This one has sprayed edges again. I don't hate these ones as much, but in 2025 we need to move past the sprayed edges, okay? Yeah, this is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. This one is an academia setting. It's kind of the same vibes as The Black Tongue Thief that I talked about earlier, where there's 2 characters who come together and in no other situation would they have to work together. So again, I always like those duos. This one, from what I've read about it, it's about a mage who gets into a school and her colleagues don't want her to succeed, so they pair her with a janitor as her lab assistant, but then the janitor has a history that no one knows about that actually is important to the work that they're doing. And so yeah, I'm just excited to read M.L. Wong for the first time and kind of see those characters work together. Okay, 2 more. The next one is Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This book I asked for A Vicious Game by Melissa Blair, which is the third book in a trilogy that I wanted to finish, but my mom read it as Their Vicious Games. No hate to my mom. She just misread it. But this one, so I was kind of surprised by it, but it does sound really good. It's also different than what books I normally read, so that'll be fun to branch out. It's like a teen book. It says 14 and up. I also feel like all like the teen mystery suspense books have this exact same font. I feel like teen like suspense books also are so quick to read, and they always just like hook you and you can't put them down, so this will be a good like palette cleanser if I feel like slumpy. It's about a black girl who is on a scholarship for like a prestigious academy, and then she has high hopes and aspirations for getting into an Ivy League college, but then she has one sort of slip up, so then her chances for getting into the Ivy League college that is her top choice are like immediately snatched away, and so her only choice is to enter into this contest where if you're the winner, Zeffie's scratching out the door to get out. If you're the winner of this contest, then you like gain entry to this prestigious wealthy family that can open a lot of doors for you. And so she enters into that contest, and then turns out instead of the contest just being make or break for her, it's like life and death, and there's a lot of things behind the scenes that aren't really what they seem, so we'll see if I like this one. It has, oh my god, the cats are hissing at each other so much. Okay, moving on. Okay, last one is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I absolutely hate the sprayed edges. Like, they don't even match what's on the cover. Also, the first book in the series doesn't have sprayed edges. What are we doing? But this one is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. The first book, The House in the Cerulean Sea, I love that book. It made me cry because of how wholesome it was, so I'm really excited to just see these characters again. Arthur and Linus and just like the magical children at the orphanage. And it says in this one that there's a new like magical child who arrives, so I just really like learning about their unique powers. I feel like T.J. Klune is very imaginative about that, and there's always unique ones. And then also, I just want to see where he goes with this, because I feel like the first book, he was like tied up very nicely, so, and I didn't even know there was going to be a sequel. So I just want to see what happens in this one, and I hope that it stands up to the first one. So yeah, we've gone through all 11. Hopefully you will see me again talking about these books next year, because I'm going to work on completing my physical TBR and not buying as many new books until I finish all of these ones that I already own. I'll show you the cats before I leave. Let me find them. Here's Zeffie and Eloise.